Ever wondered which countries tried to copy Cambodia's rich culture but couldn't quite get it right? From ancient traditions to vibrant arts, Cambodia's unique charm is hard to match. Stay till the end to discover all 10 fascinating stories. Hit like, subscribe, and let's dive in. Number 10. Thailand. Thailand shares historical ties with Cambodia, as both were influenced by the Khmer Empire. Thai culture borrowed elements like the Ramayana-inspired Khon dance and temple architecture. However, Thailand's efforts to emulate Cambodian classical dance and temple designs often blended too much of its own Thai Kadai identity. For example, Thai Khon dance, while similar to Cambodian Apsara, emphasizes different movements and costumes, losing the subtle grace of Khmer choreography. Thai temples, like Wat Arun, incorporate Khmer-style prangs but adapt them with Thai ornamental motifs, diluting the Angkorian aesthetic. Additionally, Thailand's Theravada Buddhism, while similar, incorporates more local animist practices, creating a distinct flavor. Historical tensions, like disputes over Preah Vihear Temple, further highlight cultural differences, as Thailand leaned heavily on its own national identity, rather than fully embracing Cambodia's nuanced traditions. The result is a unique Thai culture that, while inspired, doesn't replicate Cambodia's depth. Number 9. Laos. Laos, another neighbor, shares Theravada Buddhism and cultural influences from the Khmer Empire. It tried to emulate Cambodian temple architecture and Buddhist practices. For instance, Laotian temples like Wat Sieng Thong resemble Khmer designs but lack the intricate bas-reliefs and scale of Angkor Wat. Laotian classical dance, inspired by Cambodia's Apsara, incorporates more fluid, less structured movements, missing the disciplined precision of Khmer choreography. Laos also adopted the Ramayana, called Phra Lak Phra Lam, but its version emphasizes local folklore over the epic's Khmer-style storytelling. The smaller population and less centralized history of Laos meant it couldn't replicate the grandeur of Cambodia's Angkorian heritage. Furthermore, Laos's stronger ties to Thai culture diluted its attempts to mirror Cambodia's distinct identity, resulting in a blend that feels more Laotian than Khmer. Despite shared roots, Laos's cultural adaptations lack the depth and historical weight of Cambodia's traditions. Number 8. Vietnam. Vietnam, influenced by Cambodia during the Khmer Empire's peak, attempted to adopt Khmer cultural elements like temple architecture and court traditions. The Cham people in Vietnam, whose culture shares roots with the Khmer, built temples like My Son, inspired by Angkor but smaller and less intricate. Vietnam's adoption of Buddhism also diverged, blending Mahayana practices with Chinese influences, unlike Cambodia's Theravada focus. Vietnamese court dances, while elegant, lack the spiritual symbolism of Cambodian Apsara dance. Historical conflicts, like Vietnam's control over parts of Cambodia in the 19th century, led to cultural borrowing, but Vietnam's stronger Chinese cultural sphere overshadowed Khmer influences. Efforts to emulate Cambodian culture were further complicated by ethnic tensions, as the Khmer minority in Vietnam faced assimilation pressures. Vietnam's distinct identity, shaped by Confucian and Chinese traditions, made it challenging to fully capture Cambodia's unique cultural essence. Number 7. Indonesia. Indonesia, with its Hindu-Buddhist heritage, tried to emulate Cambodian temple architecture and dance. The Borobudur and Prambanan temples, while magnificent, draw more from Javanese and Indian styles than Khmer designs. Unlike Angkor Wat's detailed bas-reliefs, Indonesian temples focus on different artistic motifs. Indonesian classical dance, like Javanese Bedhaya, shares similarities with Cambodian Apsara, but emphasizes slower, more fluid movements, lacking the precise gestures of Khmer dance. Indonesia's Ramayana ballet, while inspired by the same epic as Cambodia's Raemker, incorporates local myths and aesthetics, diluting Khmer influence. Indonesia's Islamic cultural shift in later centuries further distanced it from Cambodia's Hindu-Buddhist roots. The vast archipelago's diverse cultures made it hard to replicate Cambodia's centralized Angkorian-inspired traditions, resulting in a uniquely Indonesian interpretation rather than a true emulation. Number 6. Malaysia. Malaysia, with its multicultural society, attempted to adopt Cambodian-style Hindu-Buddhist elements during its early history. Temples in the Bujang Valley show Khmer influence, but are smaller and less ornate than Angkor Wat. Malaysian court dances, influenced by Indian and Malay traditions, lack the spiritual and historical depth of Cambodian Apsara dance. Malaysia's adoption of the Ramayana, Hikayat Seri Rama, incorporates more Malay folklore, diverging from the Khmer Raemker's narrative style. The spread of Islam in Malaysia shifted its cultural focus, making it difficult to sustain Khmer-inspired Hindu-Buddhist traditions. Malaysia's modern multicultural identity, blending Malay, Chinese, and Indian influences, further diluted attempts to replicate Cambodia's cohesive cultural heritage. While inspired, Malaysia's efforts couldn't match the intricate artistry and historical continuity of Cambodian culture. Number 5. Myanmar, with its rich Buddhist heritage, tried to emulate Cambodian temple architecture and religious practices. Temples like Bagan's Ananda show Khmer influence but prioritize Burmese stupa designs over Angkor's intricate layouts. Myanmar's classical dance, while elegant, focuses on different storytelling techniques, missing the precise movements of Cambodian Apsara. Myanmar's Theravada Buddhism, though similar, incorporates more local animist beliefs, creating a distinct spiritual identity. The Ramayana in Myanmar, known as Yamazadao, blends Burmese folklore, diverging from Cambodia's Reamker. Myanmar's historical focus on its own kingdoms, like Bagan, meant it developed a unique cultural identity rather than fully adopting Khmer traditions. The result was a Burmese culture that, while inspired, couldn't replicate Cambodia's Angkorian grandeur and cultural depth. Number 4. India, the birthplace of Hinduism and Buddhism, influenced Cambodia's culture but also tried to emulate its temple architecture and dance. South Indian temples, like those in Tamil Nadu, inspired Angkor Wat but differ in scale and style, focusing on towering gopurams rather than Khmer bas reliefs. Indian classical dances, like Bharatanatyam, share roots with Cambodian Apsara but emphasize different rhythms and expressions. India's Ramayana, while the source for Cambodia's Reamker, is presented with regional variations that lack Khmer storytelling's unique blend of Hindu-Buddhist symbolism. India's vast cultural diversity made it challenging to replicate Cambodia's centralized Angkorian-inspired traditions. Historical distance and India's own rich heritage meant its attempts to mirror Cambodian culture remained distinctly Indian. Number 3. Sri Lanka. Another Theravada Buddhist nation, attempted to emulate Cambodian temple designs and religious practices. Temples like those in Anuradhapura show Khmer influence but focus on simpler stupa designs, lacking Angkor's intricate carvings. Sri Lankan Kandyan dance, while elegant, differs from Cambodian Apsara in its freer movements and lack of Khmer spiritual symbolism. The Ramayana in Sri Lanka, known as Ravana's Tale, emphasizes local legends, diverging from Cambodia's Reamker. Sri Lanka's strong Sinhalese identity and historical focus on its own Buddhist traditions made it difficult to fully adopt Cambodia's cultural elements. The result was a uniquely Sri Lankan culture that, while inspired, couldn't capture Cambodia's Angkorian essence. Number 2. Philippines. The Philippines, with early Hindu-Buddhist influences, tried to adopt Khmer-style art and architecture. Ancient sites like the Laguna Copperplate show Indianized influences, but no major temples rival Angkor Wat's scale. Filipino dances like Tinikling are vibrant but lack the structured, spiritual elements of Cambodian Apsara. The Philippines' adoption of the Ramayana, Maharadya Lawana, incorporates local folklore, differing from Cambodia's Reamker. Spanish colonization and Christianity's dominance erased much of the Philippines' Hindu-Buddhist heritage, making it impossible to sustain Khmer-inspired traditions. The Philippines' modern culture, heavily westernized, couldn't replicate Cambodia's cohesive Angkorian-rooted identity. Number 1. China. China, with its long history of trade and cultural exchange with Cambodia, made efforts to emulate Khmer Buddhist practices, temple architecture, and artistic traditions. During the Tang and Song dynasties, Southeast Asian influences, including Khmer culture, reached China through trade routes like the Maritime Silk Road. Chinese Buddhist temples, such as those in Fujian and Guangdong, show traces of Khmer-inspired designs, but they prioritize Chinese architectural elements like curved roofs and symmetrical layouts over the intricate stone carvings and sprawling complexes of Angkor Wat. For example, the Kaiyuan Temple in Quanzhou, built during the Tang period, incorporates Southeast Asian Buddhist motifs but adapts them to fit Chinese aesthetic principles, resulting in a distinctly Chinese style. Similarly, Chinese classical dance, while highly sophisticated, focuses on flowing movements and Confucian themes, lacking the precise, spiritually symbolic gestures of Cambodian Apsara dance. The Ramayana, though present in Chinese folklore as a minor narrative, is heavily overshadowed by dominant Confucian, Taoist, and Buddhist stories like The Journey to the West, which diverge significantly from Cambodia's Ramkar and its Hindu-Buddhist storytelling. China's Mahayana Buddhism, with its emphasis on bodhisattvas and complex cosmology, contrasts with Cambodia's Theravada Buddhist practices, which focus on simplicity and individual enlightenment. Additionally, China's vast cultural framework, shaped by its own dynastic history and philosophies, made it challenging to fully adopt Cambodia's centralized, Angkorian-inspired traditions. Historical records, such as those from the Yuan dynasty, mention Khmer artisans in China, but their influence was absorbed into China's broader artistic traditions rather than preserved as distinctly Khmer. The sheer scale of China's population and cultural diversity further diluted efforts to replicate Cambodia's cohesive cultural identity. While China admired and borrowed from Khmer culture, its own strong national identity and historical priorities resulted in a unique Chinese interpretation that couldn't capture the full depth and spiritual essence of Cambodia's Angkorian heritage. Thanks for exploring these 10 countries with us. Cambodia's culture is truly one of a kind. Like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Let's keep the conversation going.